some of the gods having a problem accepting this truth because of what they've had in the past.
And it's some of the gods, because there's a lot of gods out there that have landed at the same conclusion and have understanding is understood, but they're not, a lot of them are not brave enough to come out and publicly say this in front of people. And so I am the one who is willing to come forward and take this risk for our nation, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I love this just as much as anybody else, but I want to see us, you know, flourish, and it's time to renew our history, y'all. It's time to renew our history, whatever that may mean. That, you know, because I was asked by one of the gods, am I still a 5%er? And I had to say to the god, the question is, are y'all still 5%ers? You know, because I was taught as God to always show and prove. First of all, knowledge. To do the knowledge before you do the wisdom. You had a lot of people that were in here ready to do the wisdom, which is talking, and not even wise words, but I'm just going to say wisdom as talking, is ready to talk before they even did the knowledge on the subject. And finally, I was taught that proper education, Allah, corrects error. We don't just go with the error because that's what everybody else is doing. We correct the error and adapt to and admit. Part of being a man is you can admit when you're wrong. You know what I mean? Right. Also, what I feel is disrespectful is, yo, first of all, I done brought more people to this nation than all these cats who's trying to clown me online combined. Okay? I probably brought a lot of them to this nation. That's number one. So for the fact that I'm saying something you don't agree with, but yet you just disrespectfully backbiting me and talking shit behind my back without taking into consideration all the work that I done put in for this nation over these years, and say to myself, wait a minute, I always knew the God to be official. If he's saying something about this, maybe there's something to it. Let me look into it. And so anybody that didn't do that, because there's plenty of people that have done that, but anybody that didn't do that, you's a sucker. And I'm not, you know what I mean? Yeah. That's some real sucker shit to do. It's crazy when the gods come and spit this pseudo-science. Like, first of all, do we even realize that the whole educational system has been hijacked? It's been hijacked by the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts. And you motherfuckers, especially you so-called college-educated gods, believe that by going to college, you somehow have access to higher-level knowledge. No, motherfuckers. You actually are more brainwashed than anybody out there. You've been indoctrinated with fucking shit that these motherfuckers want you to know. This is the science they don't want you to know, and we are about to put you to it tonight. So, like, let's just get into it. Let's show them something, man. What we got for them?
Let's get into just the fact that let's deal with some of the points that they try to like trick around at. Like, deal with the rotation of the Earth, right?
Yeah, right.
If it's like, let's go back to this and break it down, right? They say it's spinning over 1,000 miles per hour. The brother minister tried to say that it's too big for us to feel those thousands. But what about the 60,000 miles that we're supposedly orbiting around the sun? Is it too big to feel that too? And if that's too big for that, what about the 500,000 miles we're supposedly following the sun's orbit around the universe? How could we feel nothing with all of those tremendous speeds? Somebody please answer that. I mean, nobody's ever going to be able to answer that. They're going to say gravity or the ridiculous thing that, my man, shout out to the brother Mank, even though that was the most ridiculous answer I've ever heard when he said mountains. And like, bro, I don't know where he got
where's
that.
The 1,000-mile-an-hour wind? See, look behind you right now. Right. I don't know if you could see. I don't know if that's a green screen, but there's like clouds behind you. Okay. And there's some clouds that are still.
Good setup. AD put that there.
There's some clouds that are still, and there's some clouds that are moving very slow.
Right.
If we were spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, my brother, all of those clouds would be racing
in one
past
direction,
us. They would be
uniform
moving at
direction.
1,000. And listen, it's
And
not
from west
too
to
big.
east, right?
It's not too big to see or feel. You know why? Because we see the sun moving, right? We see the sun move hourly, and that's supposedly from the spin of the earth, right? So it shouldn't be too big to feel. If we're seeing the movement, why wouldn't we feel it?
You have to feel it.
It's listen.
Right.
You see what
Thinking
I'm saying?
about an earthquake, Jamar, a seismometer. They detect earthquakes. How come they can't detect the movement of the earth right now? They don't detect nothing, the ground moving. We're supposed to be moving.
See, there was something called the Michelson-Morley experiment. Look this up, everybody. The Michelson-Morley experiment, where they actually tried to prove the rotation of the earth, and they failed.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, Einstein's equation of E equals mc squared was in answer to him being upset that that fucking thing failed and having to come up with some sort of formula to assert gravity and all this other bullshit.
What we can we look it up?
Please look it up.
Yeah,
Please look up the Michelson-Morley experiment and what it dealt with and what the results were.
Okay.
And Priest, I always have a question too.
Right.
I always ask these people this, like, if we are supposedly spinning at over 1,000 miles per hour, right? Mm-hmm. If we all just got into a helicopter and hung out for, say, 6 hours and landed, would we be at a different location? And if no, why not? If the Earth is rotating.
So, and don't say it's too big, because that's my man's answer for everything. It's too big. No,
it's not too big if it's still rotating. They said it still rotates regardless. It's not too big. So should we be at a different location? Say if we hung out in the air for about 6 hours and then landed, should we be somewhere else?
If we went straight
up.
My
question. If we went straight up and just hover. Just hover.
We just hover.
Yes.
We just hover.
Yes.
Now we hang out for 6 hours, right?
If it's rotating, the ground is rotating.
Yeah. If the ground is rotating, if we land, will we be in the same spot or we should be somewhere else? What do you think?
That's a good one. Hold on. Yeah. We should be at a different spot. If it's rotating.
If it's rotating.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? Think about it.
As you ponder that, as people try to answer that, answer this one. If you're flying, right? I also said, because they're saying you're on a ball, so you'd have to have your nose constantly downward so that you just don't go off into what they say is outer space. You'd have to always keep your nose to go around the ball. Now, that's just one thing. Now, here's another thing. So the ground is moving. You're in the sky. How do you land on a moving target?
I asked that question last time, but I just heard giggles.
See, giggles and slapping five is not an answer. It's not a winning of an argument. That's just some bullshit. Like all I heard was giggling and
giggles.
But nobody answered nothing
at all
that we had to say. So again, I ask you people, how do you land on a moving target? And again, for the people that want to say, well, you're moving, the atmosphere is moving with the ground, that's impossible.
If that was the case, all of the clouds would be all flowing in that same direction. And not only that, the waters would also have that type of flow.
Right.
And from the west to east flow. So that can't be. So I see clouds going in all different directions freely.
Right.
So they're not following any motion, any spin.
Mm-hmm.
At all.
That's a good point. That's a very, very good point. If we went straight up and come down, if it was, doesn't it?
If it was truly spinning, we should be somewhere else.